Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. I always love to start by just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, all the messages I receive. I started it as a little passion project, and it's kind of grown, and I feel so very blessed. And, my intention when I started it was to simplify spirituality and really guide people on their spiritual journey. And I love the messages I receive. Clearly, it's having an impact. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It wouldn't be anywhere without my listeners, without everyone that supported me. So I feel very blessed. My name is Nimesh Radia. I'm the host of this podcast. I'm an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. And I really do feel like right now we're all kind of going through something. We're all being pushed to shine a light. And I love guiding people to shine their light. I love what I get to do in so many different ways. So if my voice resonates, please reach out. And the beauty of this podcast is I get to interview some amazing guests, have them as guests on this podcast, and we get to have a beautiful conversation. Today, I'm joined by Sally Reid, and I'd love for Sally to introduce herself in her own words and tell us what she's all about. So, Sally, welcome to this podcast. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, as you know, I'm Sally Reid. And the interesting thing about me is I came to this sort of backwards, kicking and screaming. Because what I am is a highly sensitive person's or naturally intuitive person's empowerment coach. And I did this by learning to empower myself. I am highly intuitive and naturally sensitive. And oftentimes, especially in the generation that I am, because I'm a boomer, I'm going to admit it, is that it didn't exist. You don't exist. It isn't happening. Stop it. And so I developed a lot of things that many people of my generation experience, autoimmune issues, like arthritis and gastric issues, and just illnesses that doctors can't deal with. And I had to heal myself. I mean, I was 45 years old and I was on Vioxx that ended up, killing people. And so after that, I had a near-death experience, and the whole thing was just laid out to me in a beautiful example. And so now I teach. And it's my passion to help people simplify, just like you, demystify the human experience.
Wow. Really well said. That's very inspiring. And I do feel that this life is simple. If we could actually just focus on this moment and just, I talk a lot about any feeling that we have of control of what's coming long term is really an illusion, because the universe has plans for us, but we can focus on this moment. We can really kind of shine a light. And we were talking about what's the subject of this episode before we started, and we landed on giving ourselves permission to be. And I love that, because we go through this life with so much programming, so much religious programming, parental, societal, and whatever we do. I mean, I started out in the corporate world, and really I feel what we're trying to do is release all that programming to just be authentically ourselves. If you think, when we're born as a baby, we don't have any programming. We cry, we get attention, we get love. We are just being. We're just being present at the moment. We're not asking permission from anybody. We just do. And it's like this lifetime, we complicate it by all these long-term plans, all this programming, all these kind of putting on this facade of who we think we should be for other people. When what we're trying to do when we reduce, and I'm sure what we both do, is guide people to release their programming, because what other people think of us is none of our business. No, we can't control it.
Which is unfortunate. If you're highly sensitive, what other people are thinking about you.
But does it matter?
No,
because the thing is, I've accepted, for me as an example, I know I'm an expander. So I know that some of the things I'm going to say are going to trigger people. And you know what? I'm okay with it. So, because that's the role I've kind of incarnated into this human physical body. And it's like, well, it is what it is. Because if I try and worry about what other people think, I could never record this podcast, because there's something I'm going to say that someone doesn't agree with. And honestly, I want people to disagree because it means something's happening. So I love this topic. And Sally, I'd love for you to talk about when I say to you, giving permission to just be, what does that mean to you?
Well, you touched on it briefly, but here's what I'm one of the rare people that actually have memories from a very, very tiny age. Like, I remember the moment in time when language turned on, which studies say is between 5 and 7 months old, when a baby begins to understand what you're saying to the baby.
Wow.
And
And
it
you remember
literally
that moment?
feels like blah,
Wow.
blah, 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 and then it becomes, oh, look at the baby.
Wow.
And so that is when you start recording. I know it's weird. I don't know how it happens. But yeah, I remember learning how to walk. I can describe how to learn how to walk. It's weird. But the thing that I'm saying is this programming starts really young. By the time the baby is cruising, they already know how to get what they need and how to behave in a way that gets their needs met. So if somebody is looking for finding permission to be, it's deep in the programming. So here's what I tell my clients is anything that feels difficult inside your body should be investigated, should be
Yeah.
noticed, should be, not with a point of judgment. Because remember, our executive self is all about judging. We're all about, oh, you shouldn't do that. No, don't eat that cookie. That type of thing. Instead, look at it from your child self going, I wonder why that is. What is that doing for me? What am I really feeling about this? Because your body's going to tell you with pressure before it even gets to the level of your emotion. Your body's going to tell you with pressure. Your body's going to tell you, or your behavior is going to tell you with resistance, like procrastination. And instead of saying you should or you have to, you terrible person, you give yourself permission to be curious, because that is the very first step of unwinding is noticing that whatever it is you've been doing hasn't been working, just like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
It's not working anymore. So why not look at it in a I don't know anything about this fashion? And that helps so much. Bringing back that childlike, I don't know anything, changes everything.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I think of myself as a student, and that means that if something's happening to me, oh, let me become curious about it. What does this mean to me? When did this first occur? I changed my question because a lot of the time we go into victim mode, right? This always happens to me, always. You knew it was going to happen. It's that,
It doesn't happen.
and our
It doesn't.
question
Yeah.
it's just, and if we can change it to how is this serving me? How am I growing? Because the more curious we are, and it's really interesting. It's like how often do we look for answers outside of ourselves when our body, our intuition, our response to certain things gives us so many clues that really
Yeah.
our
Start
answers
with your
are
body,
outside
for
ourselves.
sure.
Yeah, if we can listen to that, and
That's how I started, is with my
yeah,
body.
it's really interesting. You can remember those things. I've done lots of inner child work, and my memories from my child only come from the inner child work I've done and gone back to certain situations and certain scenarios. I don't have a lot of memories as a child. I mean, I as a 3-year-old was a refugee from Uganda. All Indians were thrown out, so I've done a lot of work in any trauma, but it's interesting. I mean, the fact that you can remember when the language was triggered inside you, I find that really fascinating. It's
It's
just
kind of cool. It is
it's
kind of
so,
cool.
and learning how to walk, you remember what that feels like, and it's just
Would
wow.
you like to know the steps on learning how to walk? It's quite
Let's
simple.
do it. Yeah, go for it.
It's really fun. And you'll notice that a baby, if you have a baby at home, you'll notice they're doing this. The first thing they do is notice how to move their hands and legs. Then the next thing they're going to do is figure out how to make their limbs work by direction. That's a thing. You have to figure it out. The next thing you have to do is learn how to get your feet underneath you. Meaning your ankles want to turn, your feet want to flip. You'll see this with babies. Their feet will flip sideways, back and forth. You're figuring out, and parents are usually holding them up while they do this, and they're figuring out how to get their feet underneath them. And then the next thing they learn is figure out how to get their head over their shoulders. Because this sucker weighs a lot if you're a kid. And so it's their head that's going to make them go. And then finally, once you figure out how to get your head over your shoulders, then you work on balance by letting go and holding on and letting go and holding on. And I remember doing all of this. It is so bizarre.
Wow. I think it's
And I
great. I
really
think
do.
that kind of fascinates me. It's just like, well, hold on.
I just have a weird memory like that. And I'm 65 years old and I still remember that stuff. Now, I don't have such an eidetic memory that I have, I'm not like Rain Man where I remember everything exactly. No. What I have is like a Virginia Woolf moment of being memory, where there's odd moments of being that I do remember. And nowadays, I generally flush everything because I do a lot of channeling. So, as you know, from channeling, it isn't being recorded.
Yeah.
There's time when I wish it was, but it isn't being recorded.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool
So
to
I
have like
do
a
flush a
recorder in
lot
your
of
head?
memory.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be good just have a recorder? There you go. But
Yeah, really.
I'm curious, what you talk a lot about your memories as a child, and do you have any memories of kind of because I really believe that we bring a lot, obviously ancestrally and from our past lives.
Yeah, I do.
Do you remember
Yes.
what you bought into? And I'm curious at what
I
sort of
remember my
age you.
past lives. I remember them very well. I came to this world not having that break from the previous life. And my mother, I'd be a little child, and people have little children, and they talk about it now, how children still do that, where they're sitting at the breakfast table and they randomly say, you know, before I had you as a mommy,
You'd be like, what? What?
yeah, it's that type of thing. And I used to do that with my husband too, because my husband and I are very connected. And I would come in and say, remember the time when you and, oh, yeah, that was a previous lifetime you and I had.
I
Oh,
love it.
sorry.
I love it. Some of those, if people could hear your conversations, sure they'd be like, what? I love it.
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
love it. Because I really do feel that we have so much knowledge and we bring in so much into, and some of us, for some of us, the veil is thicker than others, right? And it is what it is. I feel, but
I Googled myself once. I
yeah,
truly Googled myself. Yes.
wow,
I was driving through the state of Georgia in the United States in the backwoods during, like the Civil War area. And I was driving along on a very old road. It was Georgia 16 is the name of it, but it was part of the old Kings Highway. It'd been there forever. And all of a sudden I had a download of a previous lifetime in that area. And I don't remember my name. I remember my parents' name. I remembered where we live. And I like had to, oh, look, I'm almost home.
wow,
I
love
turned and
it.
I drove there. And in my mind's eye, I could see a vision of where the house was sitting, what it was, exactly my whole life. Exactly. I mean, I had already had visions of like my death in that life and the stressful points, because that's what you remember from your previous life is the stressful
Yeah.
points. And my sister Mary and all that other stuff. But I went back and looked myself up on Ancestry Deed, and I found myself
Oh
there.
wow,
And I went, oh, wow, there I am. There's Jeb. Dang.
I love it.
There, I
That's so
found my
cool.
Civil War muster. I found,
I mean,
I
that gives
found,
me
it
goosebumps.
was just
That's just
bizarre.
I love it. It's just, and that's the thing. It's like when we open ourselves to a different way to channel, because I really believe we all have that ability to connect to our past lives. And sometimes some people want to access their past lives because in some way, if they feel like it'll fix them, give them an answer to. And look, we're a soul having human experience, so we're still going to have the human experience, right? So we get any insights from our past lives, but we still got to, that if we're meant to experience some painful experiences, we're meant to experience them. But it's okay. Pain sometimes is inevitable. Suffering is optional. It's that if we can become inquisitive as to whatever's happening to us and accept it's serving us in some kind of way, life does become.
Well,
I don't know if easy is the right word.
what I've
More
noticed,
in
like when
awareness.
I'm working with clients and
Mm.
they're stuck in the why, and that's the first thing my guides told me when I began channeling them is stop asking why. It is the most useless question on the planet.
Yes, it is.
Stop it. And I'm like, well, what do I ask instead? And they say the first question is, to what purpose? What am I getting out of this? What am I learning from it? To what purpose is this experience in my life? Because we are co-creating. Remember, we are co-creating.
Yep.
And so our brain says, wouldn't it be amazing if life sucked for me? And the universe is saying, but I really want you to learn how to have a lovely time. Let's first teach you what you don't love. And then we're going to teach you what you do love. Because whenever you ask anybody what they want, the first thing they do is rattle off a little litany of things they don't want, because they haven't given themselves permission to see anything else but what's wrong. That's the toddler level of spirituality. I can only see what's wrong. But when I'm working with my clients and they keep saying, this is the thing that is bothering me, instead, the question would be that not that this is bothering me, but why did I create it? Not why, but it's like, to what purpose? What is this learning? What is this understanding?
How is it
And
helping me? How is it serving me?
what is it teaching me?
Yeah.
And like, for example, a woman has a litany of very bad relationships. To what purpose? I am learning that I am valuable and I need to be loved by being abused by men. Yeah, the universe plays tricks like that. Yes, that's how what you're learning. Either you're learning to suffer or you are learning to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes humans don't change until the pain becomes unbearable.
Yeah.
Which is why in sales, they always teach you to find the pain.
Yes. Press the buttons. Press the buttons. It's really interesting when you can just change your question. It becomes so powerful because you start to become inquisitive. Then it's like, as you say, why does this always happen to me? Well, it's almost like you're asking the universe to do it to you again. And I don't really believe in repeat programs. Yeah. I don't actually believe in repeat programs. So something happens to you again. For me, it's a deeper learning. So it's like, okay, what do I need to learn from this that I didn't learn the first time around? Because it's a lesson. It's just sometimes it's hard. I get it. Like sometimes I make it sound easy. When you're in a deep emotional learning, sometimes it's hard to step out away and really. But that's where the self-care routine of just journaling more, spending time in nature, and just
let's
asking
give the
different
people
questions.
some really, really concrete things they can do when they're caught in a vortex of stuck.
Well, can we talk more about what the vortex would look like? So then let's talk about.
Oh, sure, I'd love to. Okay, in a vortex of stuck, people's attention tends to be towards their navels, inward completely, and they've stopped looking outward for possibilities and begin drawing in their energy. And it feels like this moment will go on forever, rather than the truth that we know is the only thing that happens is change. And it always changes. Just wait a minute. So that is the mind creating the darkness. Only we don't notice that that's what we're doing. So when one is in this place and it's really common, we're going to stipulate that. When you are, the first thing you want to do is figure out how you can disperse some of this energy, because a lot of times it's stuck energy. And my favorite thing to do is use energetic grounding, which is where you imagine an extension cord or some sort of cord inside your belly. And you drop it through your pelvic floor and connect it all the way to the center of the earth. And you just breathe in and just drop it. And that takes some pressure off immediately. A lot of times people will notice that right there. Then the next thing you want to do is breathe. Because when you're in this inward motion, you may notice that there's a pressure that is preventing you from breathing. And part of that is a physiologic response to your brain saying, I don't want to be. So I'm going to make my body not want to be. So you do the opposite. It's like when we train horses, the horse doesn't like it, do it again. Horse doesn't like it, do it again. So If you are stuck in the I am in the dark and I am in my bed, the first thing you want to do is turn on the light and go outside.
Yeah.
The first thing you want to do is something opposite that causes you to need to breathe, no matter how much you hate it. And my favorite exercise to give clients who are stuck is the walking meditation, where you time your breaths to counts of 4. It is so simple.
Yeah.
Everybody can walk. And if you can't walk, you can still count. You time your breaths to counts of 4. And that breaks the pattern of I am broken inside just for a moment so you can almost see the light. That's all you have to do is take control. Because what you forget is that you are in control and you have created this and you can change it whenever you want. So you just have to give yourself permission to do it.
And that's really powerful. And sometimes it's painful to hear that whatever your reality right now is you created it. Somehow you manifested it. And that's sometimes, I get that's sometimes difficult to hear. But there's so much power in that because it means
You can
have
uncreate
power.
it.
You have the power to change it. And as Einstein would say, the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing, expect a different set of results.
And as
And I get it,
Mandela
it's
said,
hard, right? We've all
yeah,
felt
think
stuck
about
at
Nelson
times.
Mandela. They cannot imprison my mind.
Yeah, 100%. And it's that. It's the power that you have inside. It doesn't matter what happens to you externally. It's how you respond to what happens to you. And so it's just you have to do something different. And so simple. Sally just said, just go outside
It's very
and
simple. Do the
breathe.
opposite thing.
Yeah,
And we
just
don't
breathe.
want to do it. That's the thing, is we don't want to because it hurts. But I
Yeah.
want to tell you a dirty little secret about emotions. When you let them out, if you choose not to fall into the pit of the emotion, if you just choose to notice the emotion as it goes, it's like, do I want to stand next to the road and watch the traffic go by, or do I want to stand in the middle of the road and let it hit me? It's that difference. So oftentimes people avoid the emotion because when they first understood that emotion, it was overwhelming to them, either because they're highly sensitive people and they learned, or it was a moment when they were overwhelmed, when they were young, when they were small, and they learned everything in this direction means a bad thing. Or when I express my anger, then I get punished. It's whatever training happened.
And then you layer it, you do it again,
And you
and
layer
then
it,
all of a
layer it,
sudden
layer it.
then you're never going to go there, right?
Yeah, but you can. You simply have to
100%.
notice. And what I teach my clients is with the application of the square breathing or doing any type of breath work, it tends to dislodge this. And one's first idea is to push it back down. Ooh, get the dragon back in.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to hurt nearly as bad on the way out as it did on the way in. And in fact, if you just let it go out, it's like, doing anything unpleasant. It only takes a minute and it will go away.
Yeah.
Because everything
And it's
does
like
change.
starting anything new. Once you start it, it's always easier than when you thought it was going to be, right? And it's that, and that breathing exercise is so simple. And just to repeat, you go out in nature, breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds. It's simple.
Everybody can count to 4. Yeah. And what's even more fun is you can take 2 steps during that one, or breathe, 1, 2, 3, if you want to walk fast.
Don't complicate life. Hold on, you want to take 2 steps and breathe at the same time?
Oh my goodness. But it becomes something, it's like giving a baby a focus toy so he doesn't get into trouble. You've got to give your brain and your body something to do to let things unwind. Yeah. And it's such a simple thing. Yeah. I mean, anybody can count.
Yeah, air is prana, right? I mean, there's so much power to it. There's and again, it's so simple. So, I love that. So maybe
there are a lot of people who go really deep into breath work, and I am not saying that is what I do. I'm saying that the breath is a pathway to go to spirit. The body is a pathway to go to spirit, and the mind is a pathway. Whichever way works for you, do it. But connecting with spirit is the only way that you can become being. You can begin to be.
So look, if you're listening to this podcast and you're feeling stuck, and I know there's a lot of people out there feeling stuck, then please take the action to go outside, spend some time in nature, and just breathe. If there's anything you take from this podcast, please take that. Go out and experience. And look, if it's raining, it's raining. It's okay. It's not. No, it's water. What's it going to do?
You live in a city, you can find a tree.
Yeah, take that action though, right? For you. Don't do it because, two people on a podcast asking you to do it. Do it for you because you
Go to a
deserve it.
plant shop, a flower shop.
Yeah.
Walk around.
Do. And but get out there, get out. Because the thing is, your ego is strongest at home. So whatever you're going through, the pull of staying stuck is going to be strongest at home. When you're outside in your nature, your energy and your vibration, your connection to source changes. And it's just, and you listen to the podcast, hear me say this phrase often, is pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And that is, the universe has a role to play, your guides, whatever, for you to experience certain things in this lifetime. But how long you stay stuck in it is a choice. So maybe make that choice today. So if you get one thing out of this podcast, is to remember to go outside and breathe. Simple as that. So Sally, I'd love to go deeper. What else? Because I do feel like right now, in whatever reason, the universe is pushing us to heal our inner child, all these things that we've been holding on to for so long. I feel like we've been pushed to deal with them and kind of go through a reset, a rebirth, whatever you want to call it. And some people struggle with it, right? And some people embrace it. Everyone feels that something's changing inside them. Some people embrace it and do the healing, and other people get angry, get irritable, and any advice you have for anyone that's kind of feeling stuck?
Yeah. Years ago, they used to call me Sally Shortcut because I'm always going to look for the easy way to do things. I'm always going to want to figure out a way to simplify it. And here's the one thing that I've noticed that simplifies it. Whenever you're doing what people call shadow work or healing the inner child or any of the names that they're calling it, most people ask you to step deep into the moment, pull all the meaning out of it. And I'm going to say what that does is give your ego a, see, they were bad for me. I didn't really, and it'll really make that baby have a temper tantrum. So instead of doing that, I have a very simple thing for you to do, and it's shockingly simple. If you feel like you had a problem at a certain age, lay back and imagine the front door of the home that you lived in at that time. And as your adult self, you walk back to your room and you open up that door and say, tell me what's going on. And you are parenting your child. Because when you drop into the child, you are giving your power away to a bigger thing. So as long as you stay the adult advisor in that scenario, you can see, oh, maybe that isn't exactly what mommy wanted to teach you right then. Maybe mommy was just trying to protect you and you took it wrong. Like, for example, I remember a time I was not able to talk, but I was able to walk. And I wandered off to the street. And my mother screamed at me, snatched me up, and spanked me hard for the first time in my life. And what I learned is don't walk too far away from mommy or she will spank you. But what she really wanted to teach me is stay out of the frickin' road, Sally. You frightened me.
Yeah. What did you take? Yeah.
I actually learned to be afraid of my mother and not the road. You see?
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? Then that then leads to a spiral that you hold on to for so many years, and it's just, as you
It's
say,
true. It did.
it's simple. Yeah, it's just, and for me, sometimes our inner child just wants love. So I'll always teach people just imagine you as a younger child in front of you and just give you a hug. Sometimes it just needs a bit of love and a bit of, or to go and play. Just imagine yourself in a playground and on a swing and just go and have some fun with your inner child. Right? It's not. Sometimes we make it all serious. And look, dark night of the soul, some of the shadow work, inner child work, sure, can be really deep. But I also feel that this life is for living. And
But
sometimes
it
it's
doesn't
just,
have to hurt. That's what
and
I'm saying is if it isn't about you, if it's just about then and in the moment, that's what makes it hurt. And when my guides first came to me, the first thing they said to me, it's never about you. It's only about now. And then the next thing they said, it's all now.
wait, sorry,
And
can we
there
just
is
repeat
no
that?
now.
It's never about you, it's about now.
It's only about now.
Love that. Powerful.
And the next thing they said is it's all now and there is no now. And I'm like, who are you people?
Exactly. What do you mean?
But
But I
they
love that.
wanted to teach me to get out of navel gazing.
Yeah,
It's never about you. It's only about the moment.
that's very true. It is always about the moment. And, I talk about this a lot too, is that, we have this illusion that we think we can control what's coming. And it's like we get lost in what we've done in the past, or this person said this and all that. It doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. The only thing we can control is how we feel in this moment. And if we can appreciate the magic inside us, the magic around us in this moment, then what if the next moment gets better? What if the next moment after that gets better? Because that's the only control we have. Because look at the last few years. It's like, could you have imagined, and this is for the listeners, could you have imagined what you've been through for the last few years? How much of that did you control? We went into lockdown. Did we control that? No. Think about all the healing and all the close and all the kind of I know, so many of us have lost friends or closed our karmic cycles or whatever that may look like. How much control did you have realistically? So,
You have
let
none.
it go. Let it go. Just, and I know we always talk about just being and living in the moment. And, I get we make it sound easy, but it is a muscle, right? If you could just close your eyes and focus on this moment and do that regularly, then what if it does become easy?
It
Because it's
actually
trained
does.
behavior.
It is training. It's learning.
Yeah.
A very wise man, a Buddhist leader, always says that the mind is born like an untrained colt. And with training, it can become a willing servant.
All right, say that again.
The mind is born like it's like an untrained horse,
Yep.
an untrained colt, he says. And as you train it, as it grows, it becomes a willing servant. It becomes a partner. It becomes a helper. And I think that's a really amazing analogy.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I ask she's young, she's at King's, and there's an awful lot of stress if you're at a school like King's. And so she's juggling and trying to blah. But whenever she starts obsessing, because she does have that personality, and we all can, and she wouldn't have gotten into King's if she didn't have a little bit of an obsession.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
So I always give her this ruler, this measurement, and is it a 5-year problem? Meaning, will you remember it in 5 years? If the answer is no, forget it. And if the answer is no to that, you can go back to, will you remember it in 5 months? No. Will you remember it in 5 days? Probably not. So let it go
Simple and
right
powerful.
now. Why keep it?
Yeah.
And it will be because it wasn't fair, because I didn't finish, or and so.
Yeah. and sometimes we get wrapped up in what other people think, and and they're so busy in their own world, they don't even think and remember whatever you're stressing about. It's like, just,
All it's doing is giving them your power for free. It's giving them your energy for free.
Yeah.
And another thing, this is another measuring stick I use. Whenever anybody wants to overcompensate or overdo, the people pleasers, I always ask, is this moment worth giving a drop of your blood to?
Yeah.
And when you make it that tangible, no, she can't have my blood.
Exactly.
Or the next one is, would that person do that for you? If any of those answers are no, then you let
Yeah.
it go.
Yeah. And it's just, and how often do we give our power away? And it's just,
We're trained
also
to.
do
It's
with
the point.
kindness.
We're trained to.
Yeah, this is the thing. Do it with kindness. So it's like when you get this awareness, because it's like for me, the first stage of healing is always awareness, right? Without awareness, what do you do, right? So when you become aware that you've had this trained behavior and you're giving your power away, the first thing people tend to do is get annoyed. Oh my God, I wish I knew this 10 years ago. I wish so and so knew this information. Stop, just stop. There's a divine timing to it. You can, again, we come back to this moment, just be. And I'm sure people get frustrated when they hear the phrase just be, because when you've gone through so many years of training to do something else, it's hard, but is it? And it's just, how can you
Once,
retrain your mind? So,
what would help, I think, when you are a toddler, because remember, it's almost impossible to make a big leap from, I mean, think about go back to the baby learning to walk. You cannot expect a baby that is still holding on to the sofa to be able to now run into the kitchen. It's just not going to happen. So if you are stuck in that stage, the first step you're going to have to take is to understand, and I don't know how to say this gently, but understand that it's possible to just let go if you do one thing, and that's put your attention on something else. It only takes 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
yeah,
Do your multiplication tables. Do, try to paint your toes. Whatever. Do something else. That's why so many people go to social media. They're scrolling, trying to forget.
yeah, yeah. It's
But
called,
then,
yeah,
of course, social media is very triggering. But do you get it? So force your brain to go, no, no, no. We're not going to play with that right now. We're going to play with something else. You're the
yeah,
parent.
yeah. I mean, science, they call it a pattern interrupt, right? You have a certain way of doing things. And the only way you're going to change is if you interrupt your pattern. If you keep doing the same thing, you're going to stay where you are, right? Change is the only constant. So do something different. And that's why, a lot of people say, don't do social media before you go to sleep or whatever. But it's just doing something different that you don't normally do is so powerful. I love it. It's just,
One of the
it's
things
super
that I've
simple.
noticed that helped me first when I was still stuck is what I call my first 5 minutes of life, meaning the first 5 minutes you wake up in the morning. Because to me, that's a whole new life every day.
Yep.
I have a whole new life every day.
We do, though. That's the point.
I know we do,
Yeah,
but it's the first 5 minutes of life. What you do in the first 5 minutes of life sets you up for the rest of your life, which is that day.
yeah. I love
So
it.
what I do is I spend maybe 60 seconds breathing in deeply when I first wake up, going, it's a new day. The next one is, instead of immediately picking up your phone or what do I have to do today, or oh my God, I do, right? Instead of doing that, you start saying just reciting all the things you're grateful for, or start saying, I'm so happy and grateful that you're manifesting things, or you start saying, this is going to be a great day. I have a chance to have a great day. And you just do it for the first 5 minutes. You give yourself a compliment. You say it's going to be a great day. At first, it'll feel like you're lying, but at the end of the 5 minutes, you're going to start feeling it.
Yeah.
You really will. That first 5 minutes of life changed my day. And then if you catch yourself saying bad things during that time, you have to apologize as if you were speaking to your baby toddler self, going, oh, honey, I didn't mean that. And just saying that to yourself is going to make you feel like, but that's your punishment for saying icky things.
Yeah. And the other thing I find that actually works for me in the morning is you're just playing a song that lifts me up. And,
Mhm.
just, it's like a great day is, there's a song, I think it's by Celine Dion. I can't remember exactly, but pick a song that lifts you up. And it's just like, and if maybe dance, maybe sing, just be a kid, be a child, kind of do. But yeah, I mean, just the point is whatever you do in the first 5 minutes sets you up for your day, for your life. again,
First 5 minutes of life. That's what I name it. I
super
should
simple.
patent
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm just thinking you should make some T-shirts for some of the things that you know.
Yeah, first 5 minutes of life. It's just it's just so easy. I live in Nashville and I am a channel, and so I tend to channel music. Don't know why. And there's a new song every day, and it usually is a form of a message. So it makes me curious. I have a lot of fun trying to find out what my guides are trying to say to me that day, if I'm
I
not
love
paying
it.
attention yet.
I love it. I love it.
It's frequently
But,
Taylor Swift.
oh, really? Oh, wow. So you're a secret Swiftie. I love it. I love it. So,
Yeah, I mean, if it's not Taylor Swift, then it's going to, like, for a while there, it was songs from the 1960s, various obscure songs from the 1960s.
yeah.
Like,
Don't you find that sometimes your guides have jokes? They do love to keep you on your toes and kind of
I'd have to look it up, like, what is this? What is this? There was one song that my husband knew, and it was called the Sukiyaki song. I don't know if you know it. Da 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 da.
I don't. Probably have to look it up. Maybe include it in the show notes. But so as we're getting to kind of near the end of the episode, any kind of advice you have um, to release the things that we're holding on to that deep, maybe because sometimes we hold on to stuff from past lifetimes and the stuff that's really deeply ingrained.
Yeah, I get it. Here's the one thing that I learned. It's only a big deal if you tell yourself it's a big deal. And I don't know how to stress that enough. It's only a big deal if you say it's a big deal. It's only hard if you tell yourself it's hard. It's only impossible if you say it's impossible. It only takes forever if you say it will take forever.
And just as a side note, if some of these, for me, their affirmations resonate with you as a listener, please write them down and use them as your affirmations on a daily basis. Say them out loud. There's power in the words that Sally's using. So just
Because the one thing that you can say that really, really changes everything is, I can do this. I am successful. Or if you don't believe that, you can say, I can do hard things. I do them all the time. It's very simple.
wow. You could also say, I enjoy doing hard things. It excites me.
Yes.
And it depends how you look at things,
You have to
it's like,
start with baby steps.
yeah,
I make hard things easy.
yeah. Yeah, and again, it's always the first step that's the hardest, right? And it's like me starting this podcast. I procrastinated for ages. Like, do I have the right microphone? Or do I have the right software? Do I have the? And it's like I started and I was like, oh, yeah, maybe this isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It's just like, just it just is. It's just we build this thing, and the thing is, the reality is, the longer we wait, the harder it gets, and the voice in our head gets even. And just doing something different, so simple, so powerful. I love it.
Well, that's
I
the
love
whole
it.
reason I had a near-death experience. I had been nudged and urged and urged and nudged to be a wise woman, to lead people. And then I came off a horse and broke my neck in 3 places and wandered around for hours and hours before having anybody see to it.
Wow.
And scared the crap out of a doctor. That was funny.
It's so interesting when you talk about it. I feel it in my body. It's just like there's a
Yeah.
transmission there for sure.
And then the part that I remember most is the part after death, where everything we believe is perfect in life is handed to us on a silver platter 2 seconds after we die. And so, relax. It's coming anyway. It's coming anyway.
Hmm.
And then the next thing is the voice saying, "Are you going to do what you promised? Are you going to heal the people and tell the truth? Are you going to lead the people like you promised? Because if you do, then you can go back." Essentially, like, okay, I promise.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
okay,
basically, I signed a contract with God.
wow.
essentially.
So powerful. I, how old are you then when that happened? I'm just curious.
I was 43. I was 43 years old.
Wow.
And I was a real estate agent of all things.
That sounds like a rebirth to me. If you can just, that's the universe doing what the universe does, right? So,
And now I heal the people and tell the truth.
well, and I'm sure you're having much more fun than you were as a real estate agent.
Oh,
Guessing.
gosh, yes.
I'm just guessing. So, yeah, as we come to the end of the episode, I would love for you to um, talk more about how people can work with you, with the services that you offer, and also, as I was telling you before the episode began, maybe a couple of journal prompts. I always like to leave the listener with something they can go deep on and maybe go deeper, get a deeper learning. So I'd love for you to share.
Well, I have a favorite journal prompt. And it is, just like you say, how long has this been going on? Mine is, if I didn't know anything about this, what would I notice? And it's noticing. It's like the issue, people deciding, right? If you know it, then you're deciding and you're cutting off any other information. So what would I notice if I didn't know anything? Would I notice how other people act? Would I notice how, because people are our mirrors. So what are they mirroring to us? And so what would I notice how my body feels? Would I notice my behavior changes? What would I notice?
Wow. Simple. I love it.
I am
And
Sally
so,
Shortcut. Very simple.
yeah, no,
Want
I
to
love
make
it.
things
Keep it
accessible.
simple. I mean, I like, I always like the acronym KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, You don't have to use the stupid part, but I've always kind of resonated with that because we sometimes complicate life and it's just, and our ego wants us to keep safe, and it's not a bad thing, but our mind does like to
Our
complicate
ego
life.
wants us
You
to
know
be
what?
right too. So we're going to look
Yeah,
for ways for us to be right.
yeah,
And that's what that, if I didn't know anything, gets rid of.
it's true. It leaves the mind at the door, the ego at the door, and allows you to truly listen to something different.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautifully simple. So, if people wanted to work with you, what sort of services do you offer? How could they connect?
Well, I have courses, and I have something what I call, simple tools. And these are simple. They're just the different tools that help highly sensitive people get through their day, filled with things like what I talked about here. I also do weekend workshops where I teach all of that at once, so you don't have to get a course. I have I have private. I work with people privately, and I also have it's going to be starting next month as a mastermind where people can come and we work together as a group, and I help people identify their sticking points because you can't smell your own stink. So I help people identify and
You got
as
to
a
teach
group,
it.
and as you well know, when you focus on things together, it makes the energy more. Like meditating in a group. That's why silent retreats are so freaking awesome.
Yeah,
It's whenever you focus on anything together. So it's a group of people focusing on uplifting and healing. And I'm really excited. It's called Energize. So we can energize ourselves.
beautiful. I'll include everything in the show notes, and people can
Just go to
reach out.
sallyreid.com and you'll find it all there.
I love it. Simple again. That's really the theme of the episode. And if anyone wants to reach out, I also offer spiritual mentorship, Akashic record reading, Akashic training. I do, So just reach out if my voice resonates. Maybe we have a soul contract. Maybe we can work together. Sally, I've loved spending this time with you. I'm sure we could talk for hours. And I'm going to hand it over to you to close us out with any final words of wisdom you have for our listeners.
Yes. My favorite thing to notice is I don't have to know everything.
Wow. I love it. So, so powerful. Thank you, Sally. It has been a pleasure having you on this podcast. Your energy is so calming. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sending everyone so much love and light and wishing you an amazing, beautiful day. Bye for now.